So, welcome to the American Thoracic Society Sleep and Respiratory Neurobiology Assemblies Town Hall. This is our second town hall, and it's really great that we are able to come together, and especially before the ATS meeting, which I'm sure we're all getting ready for. Like, I know we had our practice talk rehearsal today, so I'm sure we are all of you are preparing. And it's really going to be a great meeting. So I'm excited to see all of you there in person, hopefully. My name is Naomi Shah. I'm the chair of the Sleep and Respiratory Neurobiology Assembly here at Mount Sinai. And we have our executive committee here as well. And thank you all for taking the time to join today. So I'm going to just quickly go through the agenda for today. I'm hoping to get some input from our attendees, and if the attendees if the list of the attendees remains as small as I'm seeing, we may just include you in the meeting, and if you can turn on your videos, we'd love to get thoughts from all of you. So the first thing we'll do is have Dr. Klar Yagi, who's currently the chair of the ATS program committee, or SRN program committee, excuse me, give us updates on the program that we're all excited to see. So I thought it would be good for us to just hear a little bit more about what sessions are coming up, where we should be putting our time and energy when we're at the ATS meeting. The next thing I will talk about is just give a brief update on the Sleep Disorders Research Advisory Board, that the meeting that I attended at the NIH last week. Then I would like to go into just getting input from all of you, the executive committee, and also our attendees on the membership meeting at the ATS, the sleep membership meeting, and sort of how we should sort of design that meeting as I finalize the plans for it. And then we'll go through the initiatives that each of the committees have been able to successfully launch since our January town hall, how they went, what's coming up. And then I want to open it up for discussion and input from the community, feedback on just the initiatives and any really engagement overall. So with that, I'll hand this over to Dr. Klar Yagi.
Thank you, Naomi. All right, so this just a little teaser of some of the sleep and respiratory neurobiology focused content that we have put together for this year's ATS. Manu and I, and really the entire program committee have been working really hard, and we're very excited about the content this year. So the three main scientific symposia that will be SRN focused. One is a very hot topic right now. I think we all appreciate it, which is going to focus on pharmacologic treatment for obstructive sleep apnea and new frontiers in this domain. There's also going to be a session really focused on precision sleep medicine and rethinking CPAP and sleep apnea through this lens. And one that I think is really novel and interesting that got scored very highly during the submission process is something called therapeutic acute intermittent hypoxia. And there is emerging evidence that very mild intermittent hypoxia helps to improve brain plasticity and is being explored in the treatments for a number of conditions: sleep apnea, some neurologic conditions, spinal cord injury, stroke, etc. And these are some really dynamic speakers in that domain. The many symposia that have been slotted, and just a reminder, the many symposia are very highly scored abstracts that were selected for oral presentations. So one is really going to focus on some modern metrics and state-of-the-art signal analysis and sleep disorder breathing. Another cadre of abstracts that were highly scored were focused on pharmacologic therapies. We always have a number of abstracts related to cardiovascular risk, mechanistic clinical trials, genetic studies, epidemiologic studies, which I think will be a fantastic mini symposia, and more outcomes, adherence, and policy related management in sleep apnea. The other great sessions are the poster discussions, where we can get a little bit deeper into feedback and in discussion. And so there'll be a session focused on next generation sleep diagnostics. So getting into studies that have looked at integrating AI, wearables, new sensors. One poster discussion entirely focused on sex differences in sleep medicine in general. And this will include mechanistic studies, clinical and population-based studies. And then more of a basic science poster discussion, which is great to see in our assembly, really focused on the respiratory neurobiology part of our assembly. There's going to be a rapid session focused on sleep across the lifespan, and also integrating sort of clinically complex populations. The poster sessions are always well attended. There's going to be some focused on control of breathing. There's going to be a poster session focused on sort of cognitive, neurologic, and some of the pain consequences of sleep deficiency, some new innovations and controversies in sleep apnea, and some modern approaches and clinical pathways. Again, some health services related work. And finally, one that's really focused on some interesting cases, and entirely dedicated to interesting cases both in sleep medicine and circadian disruption. We have a full day postgraduate course that is slotted, and I want to encourage people to go online on our assembly website and get the word out about this. This is going to be Bharati Prasad has put a lot of work into and arranged a great group of speakers, really focusing on the spectrum of different therapies that we now have in sleep medicine. There's going to be some hands-on stuff and a great group of speakers. We have several Meet the Experts that have been slotted. And just want to finish with a couple of quick updates. I think one thing that we were very excited to do this year under Naomi's leadership is to really try to open up proposals for the next ATS meeting, not limiting it in any way to folks on the program committee, but really creating a portal for people to put in brief ideas and name speakers to encourage really the entire assembly to get involved in this process and present at the meeting. The other new development is, in addition to our usual clinical year in review, starting next year, we were able to get really an hour and a half sort of sleep core curriculum, which will allow, rather than a 15 to 20-minute presentation, a much deeper dive into some of the really the exciting work over the previous year in sleep and circadian science. So with that, I will stop and happy to answer questions or defer those, Naomi, to the end of the session.
Yeah, we can take questions now. Anybody have any questions?
Tavia, thank you for putting that link to the Programming Ideas portal in the chat. Well, I think it's going to be a great meeting and some really cool content. So looking forward to seeing everyone out there.
Yeah, same here. And thank you, Clara, for all of your hard work. It's not easy to do what you've just shown us, and I really want to acknowledge the hard work of the entire committee, but obviously your leadership as well. So thank you.
You.
Okay, so we will move on to sort of the next agenda item, which is the SRAB meeting. And I want to give a huge shout out to Rena for allowing me to go there. She really pushed hard, and I was able to represent all of us there. So I can show you quickly sort of what I discussed, if that's of interest, because we're being recorded. I think it would be good for those that are not able to join to be able to hear sort of what I was able to share. I can tell you that it was really well received in terms of just the representation. So I appreciate all of the hard work and what I've learned from all of you. In terms of the actual content, do you see my slides? Okay, and I won't go through the whole talk, but I'll just sort of continue to. Do you see this presentation mode? Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
So, I was asked to just sort of talk a little bit about what ATS is and really talk specifically about sleep research and the domains. And I just gave them an intro on what ATS is in terms of the pillars. I talked a little bit about the ATS conference, an opportunity where we really showcase the best science um, and educators and clinicians come together. Talked a little bit about all of us and sort of our committee over here, within the ATS, what the SRN Assembly is really working towards, and basic science, translational research, clinical practice, really all of us coming together. Showed our org chart, and then moved into sort of really what I thought. And again, I made it clear this was really me representing ATS SRN, but really my vision in terms of sleep research and where we need to go. So I discussed how sleep, obviously, as we know, is a biological necessity for human health, and that sleep disorders are common but poorly characterized beyond simple metrics like the AHI. And really, the precision medicine challenge is that we don't have individualized guidance for really anything in sleep duration, timing, quality, and unclear treatment benefit for sleep disorders across the board. We talked a little bit about sort of the challenge of real world. What do we take? How do we take what we've learned from our epidemiological studies or trials, and even our day-to-day stuff in terms of the snapshot of a traditional one-night study and the opportunity to integrate continuous wearable data and devices, clinical data and electronic health records, the environmental and contextual exposures, multi-omic biomarkers, and then behavioral patterns of exercise, diet, and things of that nature. And then move from this episodic testing to real world phenotyping, which is a concept that I know our field has been working towards. Um, and then the missing dimensions of the sleep in clinical care, how we really don't have a way to measure in a clinical setting sleep duration, sleep timing, sleep quality, and how we're sort of working with questionnaires, but again, don't have sort of the correct tools to be able to measure the dimensions of sleep. So I gave them a few priorities. So the first priority is really precision sleep medicine, how we need to match therapy to patient biology, and how we are really trying to move beyond the one size fits all, combining the physiologic data, the clinical data, and then ideally the multiomics data into sort of this precision lens and integrating it into sort of allowing us to predict treatment response. The second priority was circadian health as a core domain. And really, just like we have sex and age as biological variables, treating time as a fundamental biological variable to help with the circadian sort of health as a core domain, and how do we integrate that across the science and the research that we're doing. The third priority was next generation diagnostics. Again, trying to integrate physiologic stream, behavioral stream, environmental stream using artificial intelligence and machine learning really as a tool, not as a clinical endpoint, mostly to help with clinical decision making, moving from away from volume and velocity or more data to really shifting towards the validity and utility and meaningful data. So really that was sort of priority three. And priority four was treatment innovation and from trial and error to data informed targeting. So, our current approach of empiric treatment escalation, um, studies of heterogeneous trial populations and then applying that to our patient that's in front of us to really instead moving towards bridging electronic health records, large clinical data sets, trial emulation approaches to be able to predict individualized treatment approaches, specifically in the sleep disorders and sleep apnea, obstructive sleep apnea space. And so traditional RCT or adaptive evidence, there's a lag from time to evidence, and we talked about that a little bit. Um, and I think this was an important point that I tried to make, which was moving from reliance on intermediate endpoints in our field, and I'm just using CIMT or carotid intima media thickness as an example, but really it limits predictable clinical benefits and instead going towards prioritizing meaningful outcomes. So shifting to long-term clinical, cardiovascular, neurologic, functional health, and then leveraging real world for patient-centered outcomes as well. The other thing that I proposed that the group liked is this idea of bringing together all of the societies and organizations. So combining not only having an ATS person come, but really having a CHEST, an American Academy of Sleep Medicine, a Sleep Research Society, and others at the table and having all of us come together and provide sort of a roadmap for national sleep research priorities. And we could either do that at SDRAB or we could have apply for an R13 with societies together to be able to do a multi-society session before SDRAB and have one person sort of be nominated to represent, again, a multi-society input for research priorities. So the key asks for the NIH SDRAB was enable next generation diagnostics, integrate circadian and wearable data into clinical and research ecosystems, invest in real world evidence and platforms. So we leverage trial emulation and comprehensive longitudinal data sets, align research with meaningful outcomes, which focus on patient-centered and long-term clinical endpoints, and then convene this cross-society collaboration. And of course, I had a little more time to do this, but I'm just going through this quickly. So I'll stop sharing my screen. Happy to take any questions or comments.
Naomi, I think that was phenomenal. I was able to join in, fortunately, for your presentation and some of the very rich discussion that was had with Estrab. And I think your delivery, your slides, I mean, it was phenomenal. I think as we just all saw, and I think the priorities you laid out are very key ones. And it was striking to me the discussion about even the foundation of how we measure key aspects and dimensions of sleep. So, and so I thought that was really fascinating. So thanks for so much for representing. And I love the idea of kind of bringing societies together, STRAB, perhaps maybe some conference grants or something to really stimulate cross society collaborations and discussions. And I think also for SRN, really keeping at the forefront the pulmonary, hypoxic sensing and, the very exciting things that Clara went over that are going to be covered at the meeting with the therapeutic innovations with intermittent hypoxia, and so forth. I think keeping that aspect in the forefront, I feel like from the ATS is a really important aspect to remember.
Thank you, Rena. And again, thank you for helping this the journey for me to get there. Um, I think one of the things that I tried to also emphasize is sort of the deliverable from the STRAB, in terms of the community of researchers and what we can understand and how do you communicate. So I did make that point clear that, it's a report from this STRAB, and sort of how this then the sleep refresh, right? Like sort of the priorities. How does that come to the level of each of the individual researchers? Like, how do you know what the opportunities are? And now I think the funding opportunities and the announcements it's going to be more investigator led, right? So how do I, as an investigator, align my research to these priorities that the NIH SRAB will potentially publish? And then the time lag, right? Like, if these are the priorities today, but if we find out that in a year and a half this report comes, or maybe it comes sooner, I'm not saying the NIH will take a year and a half. I'm just sort of trying to think about the impact of this amazing session that you mentioned, a 2-day meeting. So I tried to convey that, and I tried to say that a single report may or may not capture that. And I think there's an urgency, as somebody mentioned at the meeting, Wendy Troxel, that there's an urgency for us to really move potentially faster than we have in the past, given how quickly the wearables and other technologies are sort of hitting clinicians, but also researchers, and the movement of AI and aspects of AI that are touching every field. So, I think it was appreciated, and we'll see what comes from it. But I appreciate again the push and all the work that all of you have done before I even got there. So thank you. Anything else? I know Indu has her hand up. Are we able to unmute Indu? Dan? Thank you. Indu, you want to ask your question?
Yes. Naomi, I was hoping to attend the SRAB on, remotely, but I was unable to. Could you just clarify how, what the institutes represented at the SRAB? So how does this go from the SRAB to, institute strategic, research ideas like the NHLBI or NIA or something? So if you could just clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, so we didn't have institutes represented, not all of them at least. We had a few, offices. But my understanding is that we will be seeing a sleep refresh, right? Like a refresh to sleep. So not that everything that has already been out there for priorities for sleep, this will be additional to that. And it will just be exactly what I said is priorities, that the NHLBI and the sleep disorders sort of section thinks that this is important. I also heard that the sort of funding opportunity announcements are going to be fewer. So it's not like you're going to see an RFA tied to this specific idea. And that's where I think that's where my disconnect is really what's the deliverable for us? Like, how do we see this moving from discussion to concrete research proposals? So I think this is a question that, ideally we will hear more from this report that will come out. But I don't know if anybody else on the executive committee wants to comment that may know more about it, but that's how I understood it. Okay. So hopefully, Indu, I was able to answer that, but in the interest of time.
No, yes, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, of course. No worries. So the next item I wanted to get engagement on was reimagining the SRN membership meeting. So as I mentioned, we do have some budget for us to have the ability to restructure the experience of this meeting. So this is the membership meeting that happens from 5 to 7 p.m. right before the Aspire reception. And traditionally, we all are hungry. We eat a little bit of food, but then the Aspire gives us the alcohol, and then people don't like the membership meeting. So I can assure you that we will have upgraded food. I'm still debating on a 60-40 vegetarian, non-vegetarian. Sanjay, you tell me if you feel strongly, but I'm trying to get basically a menu, and we're going to have upgraded food. We're going to have a full bar at the SRN membership meeting. So you will have the alcohol in you if you choose to drink at the membership meeting. But really, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk and get your input on sort of restructuring that meeting. And so it's not going to be 100% accurate, but if I may, I'm going to play a quick video because I can see that Sanjay looks like he's about to nod off, so I want to keep him awake. So I'm going to play a quick video. It may not be fully accurate, but
The standard layout of a
Do you guys hear the audio on that? Okay, good.
medical assembly meeting is designed for a specific type of interaction. A single podium faces rows of rigid chairs, creating a physical environment that enforces passive listening and discourages peer-to-peer dialogue. When committee reports are delivered in a strict linear sequence, they create an information bottleneck. Attendees are forced to absorb data at the speaker's pace, often losing the thread of one report before the next begins. This creates a tension within the SRN community. We generate high-value content and research, but we rely on a low-engagement delivery mechanism that doesn't match the sophistication of our work. This sequential format silences the cross-disciplinary innovation the assembly was built to foster. To fix this, we are moving away from the passive audience model. We are transitioning to a system designed for interaction, the living community experience. This model stands on 3 pillars. Immersive networking and integrated content interlock, feeding conversation into a central hub. The third pillar, the signature moment, acts as an anchor, keeping the community focused on a shared objective. By deploying these pillars simultaneously, we shift the attendee's role. You are no longer observing a report, you are an active participant in the assembly's evolution. The experience begins the moment you reach room W308 in the West Concourse. We've redesigned the entry sequence to disrupt the typical check-in routine and encourage immediate interaction. Instead of a generic badge, you'll participate in the SRN Story Exchange. Using color-coded badging and personalized text fields, the system identifies your specific research interests and professional goals at a glance. To move past standard small talk, we provide prompt cards with specific openers, such as "I came to ATS because." These give attendees an immediate, low-friction way to start meaningful technical conversations. Engineering these first 10 minutes provides a structured entry point that turns a room of strangers into a collaborative network before the formal agenda begins. Within the room, we have eliminated the centralized podium readouts for committee updates. We installed living screens, ambient looping infographic trailers positioned in zones throughout room W308. This lets you absorb the program committee's findings from H. Klaryagi at your own pace. Data is available as you move, not locked to a specific stage time. Updates from Sushmita Pamidi's Planning Committee and Helena Shotland's Web Committee are integrated into the environment, allowing for continuous access to the Assembly's operational progress. We've also added the SRN Voices Corner. This space records real-time reflections from members, capturing the community's pulse as the meeting unfolds. Distributing committee data throughout the space ensures the Assembly's operational updates are accessible to every member, regardless of where they are in the room. While the room is designed for movement, the meeting requires a singular, high-gravity focal point, the signature address. We've designed this slot for a cross-disciplinary speaker from fields like digital medicine or the AHA, who can offer a perspective that challenges our standard research silos. When the address begins, the energy of the room shifts. Attendees move from decentralized networking into a focused semicircle configuration around the central speaker. Concentrating presentations into this single high-impact moment creates a shared foundation for the conversations that follow. Room W308 is zoned for continuous movement, mapped into functional areas for food, discussion lounges, and the Aspire Hub. We've removed the physical barriers separating the membership meeting from the Aspire reception, creating a single continuous flow. Because of this fluid layout, the SRN Awards, including the Carol L. Marcus, James B. Scatrid, and Lifetime Achievement Awards, are presented within the active networking environment rather than a seated theater. This spatial engineering provides the framework for sustained interaction, allowing the celebration of our peers to happen alongside the networking it inspires. To ensure this model evolves, we have embedded QR codes throughout the venue tables to gather immediate, structured feedback from the membership. This data doesn't just go into a file, it directly informs the architectural and programming decisions for the SRN 2027 assembly. The 2026 assembly is a platform designed to be iterated upon. It is an opportunity for every member to help engineer the experience and build a stronger, more connected community.
Okay, so thank you all for bearing with that. I just created that to sort of give you that's my vision, right? I would love to have an assembly meeting experience like that. And I don't know if Richard is on the call, but the Aspire is just sort of an idea that's integrated and how Aspire can be part of the membership meeting, but it's not currently designed to be that. So my question really is that obviously, how did that look or sound? but none of that is really finalized. That's like, it would be ideal if I can do all of it. I'm glad Miriam is here so we can figure out what's really possible and what isn't. But some of those things are low expense and we can actually do it. Some of it may be hard. But that's sort of my vision. I'm happy to take feedback on what you liked, what you didn't like, what are some of the things you want me to consider as I build together this 2 hour experience for our membership. And then, Kavya, if you can take notes as people give us ideas, that would be great. And I will do the same. So, yeah, fire away. Attendees online or anybody in the executive committee. Thoughts?
I think I think a decentralized approach is like pretty valuable. I've only attended like one prior meeting, but one of the things I did notice was that it was very hard to engage with other people who are also sitting in the room without sort of turning around awkwardly or that kind of thing. So having tables or having areas for people to stand and discuss and network and talk about ideas makes a ton of sense. The asynchronous reports could also, I think, be a huge time saver. So people can read or engage with the information at their own pace, whether that's fast or slow. And then it also leaves more time for like a central programming to take place like late somewhere during the 2 hours.
Thank you, Tahir.
I
Man,
love
that
it.
was great.
Man.
I thought that was great. I thought that was a really cool vision, and I think it'll be cool. I don't know if other assemblies ever attempted anything like that. The AV part of me, because I've done some production work before, wonders how would we have to think a little bit about the like acoustics and so forth, because you have a central speaker and people all around. You need a mic and speakers and stuff, so you get feedback issues. That's just something to think about in terms of like little nitty-gritty things. Um, but I do like the concept. I think that would be great if we could pull that off.
Great. Yeah, I think the visual, I mean, the video looked obviously more up to like we don't need to have somebody speak simultaneously, but even having a committee person like Elena pre-record what she's done and having that play out loud with her speaking as opposed to at the, just having better visuals would
Mhm.
go a long way as opposed to, yeah. So I appreciate that point.
I think it's a great idea. I like how it's very sort of interactive. And what I find, especially when I was many years ago when I was a much younger person, that everybody who knew each other would tend to like stand in groups. And it was very hard for the people who weren't part of the community to make inroads. And you always felt a little bit like an outsider. So this is a way of bringing in the young people and saying, yes, you are part of SRN, and just and rather than everybody sort of standing in their little sort of cliquey groups. And I think this is a way to kind of encourage movement and encourage discussion. And I really like that.
Thank you.
What I like is it's how it contrasts with other aspects of the meeting. So like the symposium and the mini symposia, they're all didactic, they all have slides, they all are sitting down. And this is really transforming this into a social event, almost like a party, right? Where people are engaging and interactive. And that's really the point of these membership meetings, I think, right? And a lot of the reason people come to ATS is to reconnect with people, trainees, and I love it. I think we'll probably have to do this in stages over the years. And I think being cognizant of having some places where people can sit down and not stand for the 2 hours, but it feels like more of a social event than a meeting, which is great.
Thank you, Clar. Yeah, Vaishnavi and then Iris.
Yeah, no, I love how like it really helps, especially early career people who are coming for the first time really interact and break up those like pre-existing groups, especially from the beginning. Um, I still envision, and I don't know what your vision is, but I still envision like later in the meeting having still like maybe even like a shorter 30-minute or 45-minute like, you know, whatever program that you create for all of us to kind of give our updates, but maybe not as long that ends up being 2 hours, and there's a lot of cognitive fatigue already at the end of the day. But I really like, mixing that in with all the kind of interactive ways to get everyone talking.
Yeah, there are going to be a few reports, right? Like, so Rena's going to announce the winners, and, there's going to be some abstract awards. And then, like I said, the reports will come, but they will come, in my view, as opposed, because, you're also running around at the meeting, Vaishnavi. So, or who else is here? So, like, Clark coming in and giving a program, it may be best for me to record something that we can play while he's in the room, but he doesn't necessarily have to speak, and it would be on all of the screens. I find that that has a better effect as a receiver than having the person, who may just be like exhausted from 5 days at the ATS meeting or planning for it. So anyway, we can talk more, but there's definitely going to be some structured, it's just not 2 hours of happy hour, but some of it having some intentional time for people to meet. Like I remember my first time meeting Susan, for example, right? Like I was like, oh my God, that's Susan Redline. Like I remember that moment. And I remember it so vividly. But yeah, like did I have like, oh, am I gonna go talk to her? I wasn't sure, right? So if I had a natural way for me to go and meet up and ask her, yeah, I would have felt a little bit less because if I saw a badge and I'm like, oh, I'm interested, something like that. So Iris and then Sanjay and then Anna, sorry.
I think this is already addressed, but as I was watching the video, I said forward thinking revolutionary, and then I put party networking. So that was my impression of the video. But I think I would love to have but I think you already said that there will be like certain portion part of the 2 hour where I would love to hear from the leaders like you and the leaders. So it will make me think of what I can do or how I can participate in the activities of the organization in a more structured way. So I think if there's a portion that's like a little bit structured, but majority of it for like this open, meeting people and networking, I think I really like that.
Thank you. Yep, Anna.
Yeah, I really love the idea, Naomi. I think I congratulate you for being bold, for being, having these amazing initiatives, for not being scared of changing things, right? Like sometimes it's easier to do what it has been done for 10 years, and it's hard to come with a new idea and propose changes. So congratulations for that. I like the idea. I think it can be more dynamic. I agree with Vaishnavi. It will be good to have like certain, maybe 30 minutes, like nothing too long, but bringing those topics that we know need to be discussed. I like the idea of having recordings so that people can see it from different perspectives, because it seems it's going to be like it can be looking at different directions in the room. So having several screens seems like a great idea, and also reduces a little bit, I think, maybe the stress of people that maybe want to connect with others but are worried because they need to present, right? So I love it. Yeah, thank you and congratulations.
Well, thank you so much, Anna. Appreciate the feedback and the input. So I know we have to cover a little bit of just sort of the initiatives because I wanted to highlight the ones that are coming up. I want to ask a quick question. One idea that Miriam and I had exchanged yesterday, I think I spoke to Miriam our day before, I'm losing track of the days, is to have this sort of keynote speaker. And so people that came to mind, and I don't think we can really afford a lot of them, but somebody that brings in people, so like draws some crowd. And I thought the AHA leadership, maybe, with the sleep essential 8, like adding sleep as one of the key, I thought that might be one way, but I have no idea what they charge per hour in their travel and transportation and things like that. But maybe having like some designated 10-minute sort of next phase of sleep science or something like that, or from an outsider's perspective. Thoughts on that? How do people feel about having someone like that if we can come up with the money for it? Yeah, Susan.
Yeah, wasn't that the structure in the past where after the assembly meeting we did have a speaker and then had cocktails? Is that what? Because I remember we had Nanduri Prabhakar and we had all kinds of wonderful people who might not even come, and and that's changed a little bit over time. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, yes. Like, so somebody that would give us something that their name could be used to draw, engage more participants. So yeah, not like a deep science talk, but more of like a vision for integration of how sleep health fits into sort of
Yeah,
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 something like
I think that was, in fact, when this many years ago. So good ideas do come back. And I think that was very well, an after dinner talk is, something that is enjoyable and there's a little bit of science, sprinkled in. I don't know if I would think about going to an agency and asking American Heart, but I think you would give a person a stipend for, kind of this type of talk that's just modest and, pay their way. But I always thought, I mean, the good ones are very, very memorable. I mean, I remember a few really, really, and they usually are a little bit adjacent to what we do. So I think that would be, I remember Bob McCauley one year gave a talk after dinner, and I remember him describing a parrot on his shoulder. I don't remember anything else about, I think there was something about adenosine, but I remember the parrot on his shoulder.
oh, that's great. Yeah, exactly. This is great. Helpful. Thank you.
Maybe, I don't know, like some advocacy group, like hearing our patients. I have been very surprised. Like I have been in several events now of advocacy groups, and as a physician, I realized that I didn't listen to my patients as I should, or I didn't have the time that I wish. And having their perspective on how they live the disease, it could be enlightening for for
I
some
love
of us.
that. Yeah, I think that's a great, like even a patient panel almost, right?
Yeah, yeah, that would be great.
Discussion from a patient's perspective on challenges that they face and how do we tie sleep
And when
health.
are they going to have the opportunity to talk to all these doctors, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we may have to be creative on how we do this, because we may not be able to give. Yeah, we have to
Yeah.
see. But I think this was really the idea was for me to bring these bold ideas to you, and then you guys can tell me which ones are worth pursuing and which ones aren't. And then Miriam's job is she's texting me and telling me what is feasible and what is not possible, what's legal and what isn't. So I'm tracking all of that, Miriam. Thank you. Sanjay?
Yeah, I'm going to be the Luddite in the room and just say, like, I'm not sure we need catastrophic change, right? Like, there's one main complaint that everyone has about the business meeting is that people talk for too long, right? Like, that's the issue. And so I think it's certainly reasonable to fix that issue by shortening the number of presentations. Like, I don't think it makes sense to have every single committee give a
Yeah.
presentation there, right? Like, I like the idea of maybe you can get some of the committee chairs to just provide those presentations ahead of time, whether it's it's a video or it's written, and
Yes.
you send it out ahead of time. But to add more presentations is you're going against you're now undoing the problem you were trying to solve. You're making a new problem by saying let's add another lecture about science, right? You already have
A lot.
several people winning awards who are going to talk a little bit about science. If you really want to make this a scientific thing where people are sitting and paying attention to science, then you can't have an open bar. Like, I think you need to focus on what the goal is here. I think the biggest
Mm.
positive about this meeting is that it gives the rank and file an opportunity to ask questions about things they're unhappy about with the ATS. And that's where it really is important to have time where you have Q&A, where you talk about the big high, right? Like your report as the assembly chair, and
Mm.
then offer people an opportunity to say, what about this or what about that? Why isn't the journal publishing enough sleep, or why isn't the ATS leadership advocating for sleep, or whatever it is they want to talk about? Why can't we get high quality fellows in sleep? Whatever it is, right? Like, I think you want to give people that opportunity.
So thoughts on what Sanjay is suggesting. Appreciate that. I'll tell you so I think to answer your first question, my focus is to draw crowds into the room, right? Is to make sure that we have enough people and we have new people, because people who are here already know this meeting is happening and they come. I want new people to come. So I need a way to market the meeting so that people come. I mean, I don't want a science talk. I want a talk that leaves people inspired and feel motivated, especially the early career people, about the science and the space that they're in. So it's not really a science talk, but I get your point. It's a valid point that we're going to add a potential new talk. Regarding the points you made latter, I mean, I think that the latter points you made, I think they're important. Um, my my vision as the chair for this assembly is to not create a space where there's negativity, right? And especially there's no solutions. So it's one thing to talk about the problems, but I really feel strongly about not just laying out problems and then having a way to, and I would love to hear from you that, what do you think we do with the points that are raised about journal not, publishing enough sleep or those kinds of things. I worry about how it makes the room feel. And I know Indu has her hand up, but I just wanted to get initial thoughts to you. So Indu, you want to comment, and then I want to hear from Sanjay
Yeah,
also.
I mean, I've been around, since as long as Susan, I think. So we had this, we had after dinner speakers who would be draws, no question, but it took a good 45 minutes of of the time, and we would have a sit down dinner because when somebody of that stature is speaking, you can't have other things going on. So I can see your point in the program to have that would bring people in, but I'm not seeing an easy way and the reason I think we went away from that was twofold, as best as I can remember. One was we wanted to, I think, appreciate and recognize our own, I think. So see what we used to have an outside speaker. Now we have, the Lifetime and there's Catrud and this. So that's the balance. Do you want somebody from outside? So, okay, so that's what we have to decide. Which do you think is more important? And from Sanjay's perspective, I could see everybody's thinking and stewing quietly. So just because there's no negativity in the room, it doesn't mean the thoughts are not there. Perhaps have you get those questions up early and you could present some solutions, or like when when Sanjay and Reena are presenting their report from the 8 Blue Journal, ask Sanjay, what is it going to take? Or, is this a solution, something specific to them with a solution built in as an option? So so maybe get the questions earlier if possible. Okay, so I know I've talked too much, so that's my 2 bit.
Thank you, Indu. So Sanjay, do you want to respond to any of that? Because I do want to get a vote on this before we finish from the committee.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, right, like as a leader, you should be, I feel like you should be expecting what things people might ask and have an answer that shows that there is a pathway to solution. So Rena and I need to have a ready answer if people complain that there's not enough sleep published, and we will, right? And I think other people can think about what are the issues. And often the answer is like, why don't we get another, right? Why doesn't this committee work on it? And why don't you help join this committee to help get a solution to it? Like you have the person complaining, take charge of finding the solution. But I think in terms of attracting people to the meeting, I don't know that having a speaker is necessarily the most effective way, right? We're giving lots of awards. That's a great way to get young people by giving all these early awards out and right, and just having a positive message about the food and drinks and networking.
The awards aren't happening they're happening at the Aspire. They don't happen at the membership meeting, right?
Well, you're giving the early, right? The abstract awards, right?
Oh yeah, I meant like the actual awards, like we're talking about the speakers and the people from
Right,
this.
but in terms of new people coming, it's if you're giving those first time attendee awards, that's bringing all the first time attendees basically in our assembly.
Right. Got it. Okay, thank you. So we're short on time. I obviously we won't get to the initiatives, but I know Miriam and Vaishnavi and Iris, you all had your hands up. I'll give you guys 30 seconds each to make your points if you can.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Miriam, and then
Okay.
Vaishnavi.
Just really quickly, some things to keep in mind. Um, the executive committee, and there are members that are really involved that hear all the business that happens, right? And know what's going on, but there are also many members who are not part of any committees who really need to hear updates on program and planning and web, and these are just avenues on how to get involved. We typically don't recommend a speaker because as Sanjay said, this number one, we're trying to get away from talks. Number two, it really has to remain a business model, right? A business meeting model. It is a membership meeting. That's not to say that we can't do things during the networking hour, but the biggest ask is always more networking time to make those valuable connections.
Very important points. Thank you, Miriam. Vaishnavi and Iris, quickly, please.
Yeah, I just quickly wanted to say that I feel very strongly that as someone who joined as a second year pulmonary fellow early on, I thought what pulled me in, certainly the awards, that's something you aspire to, but it was really the interactions. It was really like I felt invited. I felt like, I was being introduced to people. I really was excited to get involved. And so I think to Miriam's point, expanding that time for interactions when people are joining is really important.
Thank you. Iris? You're on mute, Iris.
So I think, I don't know if you give the awards. I think you give the awards during the business meeting, but I would love to be if I am an early career, I would love to know more, maybe just a few words or sentences about these people, and for these people getting the awards to say
You
something.
mean which awards? Which awards are you
Yes.
talking about?
Whatever awards you're giving, like the lifetime or the abstract or something like that, or are they given at a different time other than the membership meeting? But I think I would love to hear those. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe the abstract awardees, we could have a little bit more on those, like
Yeah.
share more about them as opposed to just their name.
Yeah.
This is very helpful, and I really appreciate everybody sort of pitching in and telling me how you think about this, right? So what the video you saw is the boldest vision. It's not like we can make everything happen, right? And I think as Clar said so wisely, we may have to do this incrementally, right? Like in layers. So can I just see by a show of hands how many people on this committee think that I do need to work towards changing the structure of that meeting substantially, the membership and business meeting? How many people think I should change it? If you can put your hands up virtually or physically, I just want to count. And I'll give you guys a few seconds to do that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the people and 12. Yeah. So I think the majority want me to do something with the structure of this meeting. So that means that we keep some of the things that I've already heard that are good. Like people want some kind of understanding of the committees. How we deliver that is something that we will work on, but we will certainly have that. We won't leave that. I heard that having a keynote speaker may not be the best thing we need. Having more networking time is an important element that we should engage and make sure that people have opportunities to meet people. And then having some way for us and for me and all of us as leaders to be accountable, to Sanjay's point, to have some complaint format, right? Like, let's hear about ideas, grievances, issues, and then somebody, actively taking notes. And then for me to deliver on a solution, because I don't like to listen to problems and then not come back to them with solutions. I absolutely, as a leader, can't work with that. So that will be my responsibility. Marwa, is your hand up from the vote, or do you have a point you want to make?
Sorry, it was from earlier. So
No
sorry.
worries. No worries. So we didn't get to all of the amazing things that are coming up, but I want to use the last 2 minutes for Kavya. If you want to just pull up the tracker, Kavya, and just highlight the work that has already been done by the committees, but more importantly, what's coming next. This is really work from all of you, from all of our committees. So just to highlight, we had a session that Renee led from the PBTS on March 27th, which was really wonderful. Renee, thank you so much. Anything you want to add?
Not really. So there will be more to come, right? There will be one symposium after the international meeting, and then probably a second of this Connect before the end of the year.
Exactly. Yeah. And thank you for doing that session. We also had a couple of things from so my first grant clinic, which happened on Thursday, April 9th, which was the early career working group from Marwa, which and the team, the entire team, sorry, not just Marwa, but Anna and Tahir. That was a huge success. I heard, correct? Great.
Definitely. We had a huge engagement. Around 30 people joined. There was a lot of engagement and questions. I think it went great. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. The open programming ideas box, Clara, I'm hoping that you guys are monitoring it. If not, if you can, and let us know how we can help you get these ideas.
We are. We have some suggestions in there. And that's going to be live for up through May. So I think it's a great idea. It's something we should advertise at the membership meeting too, for this next year.
Yeah, and we will. And the award nominations box also went live. I know none of the members are here, but I know oh, thank you for showing those. So this is the award nomination box that Kavya and the rest of the team have put together. Please go in if you know people for next year, put the award nominations, and then same with the programming suggestions. There is a couple of events that are coming up next week. I just want to highlight that I think are going to be important. So Vaishnavi, sorry, did a Fellows Connect National video. If you're a program director and listening to this, please reach out to her. There's a really great video on why your early career trainees should join ATS and what it offers. But the two things that I want to point out is that there is a session next week on the 24th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time that the web committee has organized. Thank you, Elena and Iris and the team. This is Pathways to Leadership webinar where we have 3 presidents from different societies that are going to talk about how they became presidents. So that will be a great session. We're really looking for a great turnout if you can help spread the word. And then there's a Sleep Science 360, which is essentially journal club, but a lot of different papers, and that's on the 21st at 11 a.m. And then finally, we have a happy hour that the Early Career Working Group has put together. Again, thank you to the whole team. That's 5/17 in person at 4 p.m. at Bartella at the Hilton Orlando Hotel in Orlando at the meeting. So we look forward to having all of you guys join us. Thank you so much, Kavya, for sharing that screen with me. So we're at the top of the hour. Anything anybody wants to add? I'm happy to stay on, or if you want to bring up anything. I also want to give a huge shout out to Brandon, who I'm seeing, who's been helping push a lot of this out on social media. So thank you so much, Brandon, for all of your hard work.
Problem.
All right, I don't have any other agenda items, but keep your ideas and thoughts coming. We will work on getting this membership and business meeting with your feedback organized in the way that I heard today.
Thank you so much, Naomi.
Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.